It's my joy to be able to add my welcome to Rachel's. It's brilliant to see you. The choir sounding fantastic. Front row seat, I have to say, is a bit of a privilege of the vicar. And well done as well for kind of working your way through the snow. We did our best to dig out our paths and put some grit down, but no one else seemed to. So thank you for coming tonight. And I think you should reward yourselves after the service with a double helping of mulled wine and mince pies. Otherwise, I'll be feasting on them for the next month or so. So help me out, if you would. But let's be honest, could it be more Christmassy? We have candlelight. We have the Christmas tree downstairs. We have the mince pies and the mulled wine. We have the Advent wreath. We have some stars. We have wonderful carols. We even have snow. I prayed hard for you to experience snow at our carols by candlelight. And next year, we're going to work hard on having live animals. I'm not sure about that. Let's be honest, we love tradition, don't we? All of us. We love the Christmas lights. We love the decorations. I don't know about you, but I enjoy walking through West Harrow, looking through people's windows, seeing who has the best decorations. You know who you are, don't you? And I love the turkey and the sprouts. I love pudding. We all do. We love, of course, presents as well, don't we? Who's looking forward to getting something this Christmas? Yes, one or two of us, of course we are. But I wonder, in the midst of all of that celebration, what's the significance of Christmas? What do you think Christmas is actually all about? It's really easy, isn't it, to go through the motions year on year of all those wonderful traditions without experiencing the emotion of the reality that Christmas brings, the meaning that Christmas brings. And so we've had tonight this unusual final reading. It is a Christmas reading, but it's not the usual one that you will hear. It's less about what happened. We've sung about what happened. We've heard other readings about what happened. John, when he writes, speaks more of why it happened, why Christmas matters. What does it mean? That's what he's talking about, the meaning of Christmas. And just in the next few moments, that's really what I want to talk to you about this evening. Three things. Christmas means that you are saved by God. Christmas means you are bound to God. And finally, Christmas means that you get the joy of God if you want it. So let's think of that first idea. Christmas means that you are saved by God. John here in this passage shares his personal experience with his readers, and he gives, doesn't he, this eyewitness account. He says, we have seen him, we have heard him, we've touched him. That was a first century witness statement. If you're American, you would describe that as a deposition. It's a legal testimony. Believe me, he says, this is history. This really happened. It's not a myth. It's not a legend. It's a tested fact. These are facts on the ground that we've seen with our eyes. And you might say, oh, it's fair enough. Maybe he thought that back then. We don't really need to believe that anymore. Does it really matter? Can't Christmas just be a nice story? Well, I want to suggest this evening that actually it can't. Because the experience that John is describing, he describes as a divine encounter. He speaks of Jesus as the word of life. Jesus, he says, is eternal life itself. He's not somebody who has it. He's not somebody who gives it to others. He doesn't point the way or offer a spiritual path or a series of teachings. Jesus, he says, is salvation itself. This is God coming to us to rescue us, to save us. And isn't that great news if it's true? You see, what that means is then you don't have to save yourself. What a relief. Because trying hard to live a good life is hard work, isn't it? Let's be honest. It leaves most of us, at least when I try it, feeling anxious and insecure. afraid that really I'm just not good enough, either for myself, my own standards, or for those around me. Or perhaps for you, you're more disciplined than I am, and you feel actually you really are good enough. You are living the good life, but it does mean that you tend to look down on those around you and think you just need to pull your socks up, pull yourself together, get on with it. You can do better than that. And you realize you've slipped into a little bit of a proud disdain for mere mortals around you who are not as disciplined as you are. Or maybe you're the other half of that actually recognizes that you fail again and again and again, and you're consumed with a self-loathing because you know that you are a failure. Well, if John's testimony is true, if Christmas really happened, if it is history, facts on the ground, then the good news is you can know security. You don't have to be anxious about your status before God. You can be humble because it's not you who saves. He does it for you on your behalf. And if you have failed, you can know his forgiveness because Jesus has lived your life for you. You see, all of that is available to you, and all Christmas asks is that we trust him. That's the meaning of faith. It's not holding on to a particular set of beliefs as much as it is loyalty or allegiance to the one that we trust. And Christmas says, trust Jesus. Christmas means that God saves you. You don't have to save yourself. The second thing John says to us is that Christmas means that you are bound to God. John here speaks of this fellowship with one another, but more importantly, with God. And fellowship is a rather old-fashioned word, isn't it? Christians use it a lot, and it's rather quaint, I think. But it comes from a Greek word. The Greek word is koinonia. And it's a powerful word that speaks of participation, of communion, of sharing life together. It speaks of human beings, you and I, bonded to God. It's something that is profound, it is deep, it is intimate. It's a new spiritual reality that John has experienced that he's offering to you and to me. He says, would you believe this? You can know and be known by God. And to know God, well, that's what salvation is all about. And for him, he says, as I met this Jesus, I came to realize that this person was God in human form. That God looks like this man, Jesus. Here he is in real life, flesh and blood. Not a concept, not an idea, not some divinity at a distance. But this man has bound human beings and God together. In him we are one, and we can be one with him. All you need to do, he says, is trust him. Put your faith in him. Pledge your allegiance to him. Christmas means that we are bound to God. We can experience a new spiritual reality as we discover who we really are in him. Lastly, third thing, you've been very patient. Christmas means you get the joy of God. This is the fun bit. This is how life is supposed to be, in union with him, bound up with him. This is what we are made for, you see, to be one with our Maker. I wonder, have you ever been one with something or someone? You know that line from a certain movie, you finished each other's sandwiches. Or perhaps for you, you're a little bit more sophisticated than that, and it's an instrument that you play. Or perhaps you've seen a virtuoso performance like we experienced today, where you became at one with the music. It's powerful when you see that, where you have that integration of musician and instrument, where the virtuoso is in tune with their instrument, where it is instinctive. They're not looking at the music, their eyes are closed, their hands are everywhere. They're just lost in the moment. They are at one with their art. When you've experienced that, what was it like for you? How did it make you feel? Now, I am not a musician, but I am a bike rider. And the church here gets fed up of hearing stories about my bike riding, but as a few of you are not regulars, I thought I might share a story of my experience of feeling at one with my bike. And I was cycling with a friend of mine down a narrow country lane, and we were going very fast. I think I was approaching 40 to 50 kilometers an hour. We were going downhill. We were coming around a corner. On the way up, there were two other cyclists struggling up the hill. I smiled to myself as I was going down in the drops at 50 kilometers an hour, until I realized that a driver decided that the corner was a great opportunity to overtake these cyclists that were going up the hill. So as I came round the bend, I realized that a car was taking up the entire space on this narrow country road, and I had nowhere to go. Instinctively, I squeezed the brakes on my new aero bike. I felt the back wheel lock and skid. I pulled it back underneath me. The car kept coming towards me. I slowed right up. I was skidding at this point. I suddenly saw a gap open up, went through the gap, came out the other side, didn't even slow down for a moment. Cried out with glory because I felt at one with my bike. It was part of me, and if it hadn't been, I would have been a goner. It was an exhilarating moment, a thrilling moment. In that moment, dangerous though it was, and I wouldn't recommend doing that yourselves, I experienced joy. It's in moments like those where we experience that kind of joy that we discover who we are, where we recognize that who we are those who are one with God. And when we are one with God, it doesn't mean that you lose yourself, but it's where you discover yourself, where you realize that this is what it means to be fully alive. This is Christian salvation. And it is all available to you. That's what Christmas means. If you trust him, if you put your faith in him, pledge your loyalty to him. So you see, the result of this union is joy. Jesus promises a full measure of his own joy to his followers. Now, when I talk about joy, even though I've been talking about riding my bike, I'm not talking there about just kind of a fuzzy giddiness. It's not sensual satisfaction like pleasure or something like that. It's deeper than that. It's the ballast, if you like, that keeps a ship upright and stable even in high seas. It's the bass note that remains in your life, whatever circumstances you go through. Joy is possible in the midst of life as it is. You see, Christmas, it's an account of really ordinary people, isn't it? Shepherds and refugees and families with newborn babies and difficult births and governments that are interfering in ordinary lives. It's everyday, it's common or garden, it's bog standard. But it's also a story of wonder and joy, because in that ordinary moment, God comes to us. You see, you can lead a reinvigorated life no matter the circumstances that you face. So just to wrap things up before we sing again, celebrate Christmas this year. Please enjoy every moment. And I want to wish you a very Merry Christmas. But don't forget its significance as you do that. The meaning of Christmas is good news. We talk about glad tidings of great joy. It really is good news because it means God saves you. More than that, he binds himself to you. More than that, he gives you his joy. What more could you ask for this Christmas? All you have to do is believe. All you have to do is trust him. All you have to do is put your faith in him. Let me pray.